Have you ever stopped to think about those friends who, when you ask them if they're going to celebrate their birthday, respond with a simple "Oh, I don't know, it must be just one more day"? While most people schedule parties, wait for messages or at least make a symbolic toast, they see the date as any other Tuesday on the calendar. It's not disdain, it's not a lack of gratitude, it's as if, for them, the birthday doesn't carry that emotional weight that society insists on giving it. But what is hiding behind this apparent indifference? Is it just detachment, or is there a deeper story that few can see? Before you think this is a lack of joy or even a sign of depression, it's important to say, there's nothing wrong with not turning your birthday into an event. Some people simply don't feel the need to be the center of attention. They don't see the point in receiving congratulations for something that wasn't a personal achievement after all. Being born wasn't a choice, it was just the beginning of a journey. For them, life is not measured in commemorative dates, but in small moments that are worth much more than a cake with candles. And this, in fact, may be a sign of an emotional maturity that many have not yet developed. But if we dig a little deeper, we will discover that, behind this attitude, there is often a story that few people know. Maybe, at some point in their lives, they waited for something that never arrived, a gift that didn't come, a call that wasn't made, a party that was forgotten. Or perhaps they learned as children that expecting too much from others only leads to disappointment. The brain, wise and protective, may have created a defense mechanism. If I don't expect anything, I won't get hurt. And so, the birthday becomes just another day, without expectations, without demands, without the shadow of frustration. There are also those for whom the anniversary is a painful reminder of what was not. People who lost someone important on that date, who have experienced trauma or who simply associate the day with memories they would prefer to forget. For them, ignoring the celebration is not a lack of gratitude for life, but a way of preserving their own peace. After all, why relive something that hurts if you can just move on? Another interesting aspect is that many of these people are introverted or highly sensitive. They don't need a party to feel special. In fact, too much attention can even be uncomfortable. For them, a peaceful dinner with someone who really matters, a sincere message or even a moment of reflection alone are worth more than 16 generic congratulations on social media. They do not seek external validation, because they have already found within themselves what they really need. But does this apparent indifference hide something more? Sometimes, yes. It may be a sign that the person has learned not to depend on others to feel complete. Or, that she understands that life is not limited to a date on the calendar, but rather the sum of all the choices, mistakes, learnings, and small triumphs that happen on the other 364 days of the year. For them, a birthday is not a milestone of celebration, but rather a moment of pause to evaluate the path taken, not with parties, but with a sincere reflection. What have I experienced? What do I still want to experience? And here's the most fascinating part. These people often have a deeper relationship with time. While most see the anniversary as a countdown, another year is gone, they see it as an opportunity for a quiet reset. You don't need fireworks to mark a new phase, just a sigh, a different breakfast or an internal decision to move forward. For them, life is not measured in extinguished candles, but in how the internal flame continues to burn. If you are one of these people, know that you are not cold, nor ungrateful, nor antisocial. You simply learned to value what really matters, true connections, authentic moments, and the peace of not depending on other people's approval to feel complete. And that, deep down, is a rare gift. Because while many spend energy looking for likes and congratulations, you've already discovered that the best celebration is to live in a way that makes sense to you, with or without cake, with or without a party, with or without candles. And if today is your birthday, or if you know someone like that, here's a reminder, you don't need a date to be special. Your existence is reason enough to celebrate, not in a single day, but in every choice you make, in every laugh you make, every time you get up after a fall. Because at the end of the day, what matters is not the day you were born, but what you do with all the days that come after. If this text made sense to you, comment here. How do you deal with your birthday? And if you know someone who also sees the date this way, share. They may need to read these words today. And if you like this type of reflection, stay here, because there is much more to come. Until next time. Oh, and happy day, whatever it may be. Your birthday as a mirror, What your relationship with this date reveals about you. There is a curious detail about commemorative dates. They are like magnifying glasses for our wounds, our values, and even our illusions. While some turn their birthday into a carnival of attention, others see it as a silent ritual of self-discovery or, in extreme cases, as an uncomfortable reminder of something that wasn't. But what if, instead of judging who celebrates or who ignores, we looked at this date as an emotional thermometer? What does your relationship with your own birthday say about how you deal with love, time and, above all, yourself? 1. Birthday as a minesweeper, when the date hurts. It's no wonder that some people delete Facebook notifications, make excuses not to leave the house or even deliberately forget that it's that day. Behind the "I don't care about that" often hides a tacit agreement with pain. If I don't celebrate, I won't remember what's missing. The comparison trap. Everyone has a party but me. Your birthday becomes a distorted mirror that reflects not who you are, but who you think you should be. The ghost of expectations. That year when you waited for a gift that didn't come, a hug that didn't hug, a call that didn't ring. The brain files. To celebrate is to risk being disappointed again. Loneliness disguised as independence. I don't need anyone to be happy. But what if, deep down, this phrase is a shield against the vulnerability of admitting that, yes, we need it: connection, affection, being seen. Question that hurts, but freeze. If you could celebrate your birthday without fear of judgment, what would that day be like? 2. Birthday as an act of rebellion, when ignoring is a manifesto. Now, let's talk about those who not only ignore the date but are proud of it. Birthday is just another day, they say, with a smile that mixes disdain and relief. But is this indifference really detachment, or the most elegant way of refusing the rules of a game that never made sense? Refusal to emotional consumerism. In an era where even happy birthday has become currency, likes, stories, social obligation, choosing not to participate is a political act. I'm not going to perform happiness to feed someone's algorithm. The search for the sacred in everyday life. For these people, every good breakfast is a celebration. They understood that the magic is not in the date, but in the ability to transform the ordinary into extraordinary without the need for cake or congratulations. Silent mourning. Sometimes, ignoring the birthday is a way of honoring those who are no longer here. How to celebrate. Air without you. In this case, silence is not empty, it is an intimate dialogue with longing. Uncomfortable reflection. What would you be celebrating if you weren't pressured to follow a social script? 3. Birthday as a ritual of reinvention, when the date became a portal. And then there are those who have turned their birthday into a rite of passage, not for receiving, but for shedding what no longer serves them. For them, the date is not about the past, but about the unanswered question: who do I want to be in the next 365 days? The power of symbolic goodbye, burning a list of fears, donating clothes that don't fit, cutting your hair. Small acts of liberation that say, this year, I am born again. Celebration as an act of gratitude, not ego. Instead of expecting congratulations, they give something to the world: plant a tree, do an anonymous favor, write letters to themselves from the future. My birthday is the day I treat myself with meaning. The courage to celebrate alone, dinner in an empty restaurant at 3 p.m., traveling to a place with no cell phone signal, spending the day doing exactly what you want. Because, deep down, the best company is that of your own essence. Radical challenge. What if, this year, you used your birthday not to receive, but to give to yourself, to others, to the world? 4. What to do when your birthday hurts, or just doesn't make sense. If you identified with any of these stories, or if just reading this made your chest feel tight, here are some keys to transforming this date into something that finally makes sense to you. Sparkles if you avoid your birthday for fear of disappointment. Try celebrating in secret. Buy yourself a gift, write a letter with everything you achieved this year, watch your favorite movie without guilt. The idea is to relearn to trust your own hands. Sparkles if you ignore the date out of rebellion or social fatigue. Create a ritual of your own. It could be lighting a candle and being grateful for life, it could be skydiving, it could be doing nothing, as long as it's a conscious choice, not a reflection of bitterness. Sparkles if you use your birthday to reinvent yourself. Ask a powerful question: what would I leave behind if I knew no one would judge me? And then, do it. Even if it's just for one day. Sparkles if you miss someone who is no longer here. Invite that person to the celebration. Light a candle, cook a recipe they loved, visit a place that reminds them of them. Death does not take away love, it only changes the way it exists. The great truth no one tells you, but you need to hear. At the end of the day, the birthday is not about you. It's not about how many years you've lived, how many congratulations you've received, or how many candles you've blown out. It's about life, that stubborn force that, against all odds, chose you to inhabit it. And if today is that day, or if you're reading this on any other day of the year, here's the reminder that few will give you. You don't need a date to be valuable. You don't need anyone to celebrate yourself. You don't need a cake, a party, or likes to prove that you exist. But, if you want, you can use this day, or any other day, to look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm here. I'm alive. And that, just that, is reason enough to celebrate. Now tell me, what is your relationship with your birthday? Do you celebrate, ignore, reinvent? And what does this date reveal about you? Comment here, maybe your story will help someone feel less alone today. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, share. Sometimes, a text is the hug we didn't have the courage to ask for. Stay here, because we're going to talk a lot more about how to transform painful dates into healing portals. Until next time and, regardless of everything, happy being alive day. Seedling. What if I told you that your birthday is not just a date, but a mirror? They are one of those framed mirrors that only reflect what is on the surface, the cake, the candles, the forced smiles for the photo. But a mirror of the shadows, of the child you were, of the dreams you abandoned along the way, of the versions of yourself you buried to please others. Because, deep down, the way you handle this date reveals more about you than any personality test. Think, when your birthday arrives, what happens inside you? If you celebrate with a party, gifts, and a timeline full of congratulations, it may be that you need external validation to feel seen, and that's okay, we are social beings. Or, at the opposite extreme, you are compensating for something, the loneliness you feel for the rest of the year, the feeling that, without this day, no one would remember you. But it can also be pure, genuine joy, the ability to turn any moment into a celebration, to bring people together and create memories. And that, my friend, is a rare gift. If you ignore the date, as if it were just another day on the calendar, perhaps have learned, the hard way, that expecting something from others hurts. Someone forgot your birthday once, or 10, and your brain registered, best not to get your hopes up. Or you associate getting older with losing something, youth, opportunities, people who are gone. So, celebrating becomes a reminder of what is no longer there. But it can also be freedom, the certainty that your existence does not depend on a day marked on Google Calendar. You live in continuous time, not fragmented dates. If you reinvent your birthday, travel alone, do a private ritual, donate blood, plant a tree, it's because you refused social scripts and created your own. This is silent revolution. Understood that the true gift is not what you get, but what you give to yourself or to the world. Or, simply, you hate conventions and prefer to mark your life with experiences, not candles. Now, the question that few ask. What would happen if, this year, you did different? I'm not talking about going radical, although, if you want to skydive on your birthday, go for it. I'm talking about breaking a pattern even if it's just for once. If you always celebrate, try spending a birthday in silence. No posts, no party, just you and the question, what do I really want for the next 365 days? Hint, the answer might surprise you. If you always ignore it, try doing something symbolic. It doesn't have to be grand, it could be a coffee alone in a place you love, or a letter to yourself that you won't open for another 10 years. The goal isn't to celebrate, it's to find yourself. If you always reinvent, let someone surprise you. Allow, just this once, the script to be written by someone else. Yes, that includes accepting a big hug or a silly gift without turning up your nose. Because here is the blunt truth. Birthday is not about the day you were born. It's about the day you decide to be born again. Born into a version of yourself that isn't afraid to take up space. Who doesn't need excuses to be happy. who understands that life is not measured in extinguished candles, but in flames that you light along the way. And if today or any other day you find yourself thinking, nobody cares about me, remember. Someone called. Someone chose you to be here, right now, reading these words. Someone, somewhere needs your story to feel less alone. So, do it differently. Not for your birthday, not for others, but for you. Because you deserve to be the person you've been waiting for someone to be. Now tell me, which pattern will you break this year? It doesn't have to be today, it doesn't have to be grand. It may just be a small gesture of rebellion against routine. Comment here, and if you know someone who needs that jolt, share. Sometimes a text is the spark. What was needed to spark a change? And stay tuned, because next week we're going to talk about how to transform empty rituals into moments of personal power. Yes, that includes reinventing Christmas, New Year's Eve, and even Valentine's Day, because, in the end, every date is whatever you decide it to be. Until then. And remember, you're not just getting older. You are becoming. Fire. Continuation of the original text, with applied techniques. You're not just getting older. You're becoming. This phrase is not just a reminder, it is an invitation to personal alchemy. Because life is not a clock marking time, but a forge where you choose, every day, what metal you want to be, what rusts in routine or what is tempered by breaking patterns. And speaking of brokenness, have you ever stopped to think about why some people are afraid of changing? I'm not talking about those who resist out of laziness, but those who feel the call of transformation and still get stuck. They know they need to quit their job, end their relationship, cut their hair, move to another city, but something holds them back like an invisible chain. Is it fear of the new? No. We even understand fear of the new. It's the brain alerting us to risks, like a zealous guardian. What really paralyzes you is the fear of losing the identity you have built. Because change is not just about changing scenery, it's dismantling the version of yourself that others know and betting on one that still has no guarantees. Just imagine, you are the person who was always responsible, who never let anyone down, who stuck with it even when it hurt. And now, if you drop everything to paint pictures or open a bakery, who will you be at the next family gathering? But so-and-so was so stable, as if stability were synonymous with happiness and not the tomb of dormant dreams. Here's an uncomfortable truth. People will find your change strange. Not because they want you bad, but because your transformation mirrors what they don't have the courage to do. His radical haircut, his irresponsible firing, his yes to the solo trip, all of this is a mirror that shows others the chains they have yet to break. And mirrors, my friend, are always uncomfortable. But what if, instead of fearing judgment, you used it as fuel? What if every sideways glance was a reminder that you're stepping out of the ordinary? Because in the end, those who live to please the audience end up forgetting the script for their own lives. And now, tell me, what's that pattern you've been putting off breaking? It doesn't have to be something big, it could be stopping justifying your choices, stopping checking your cell phone at 3 a.m., or even buying a ticket to that place you only dream about. Comment here. Not for me, but for you to read it a year from now and think, wow, that's where it all started. Oh, and if you know someone who needs this jolt, share this text. Sometimes, we don't change because of a lack of courage, but because of a lack of a little push on social media. Next week, we will talk about how to turn your shoulds into I chooses, no guilt, no excuses. Spoiler, it includes a list of dangerous questions that will make you rethink your priorities. Yes, it will hurt. Yes, it will be worth it. Until then. And remember, life is not about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning to dance in the rain, and sometimes, being the storm itself. High voltage sign. Analysis of techniques applied in continuation. 1. Hook with strong metaphors. Life is not a clock marking time, but a forge. Visual image, forge, plus contrast, clock versus transformation, to capture attention. 2. Layered rhetorical question. Have you ever stopped to think about why some people are afraid of change? It's not just any question, it specifies the type of fear, not the obvious fear of the new, generating curiosity. 3. Deconstruction of beliefs. I'm not talking about those who resist out of laziness. Filter the P. Target audience, avoids resistance from those who feel attacked, and validates the reader, your fear is legitimate. 4. Anthropomorphism plus internal dialogue. The brain warning of risks, like a jealous guardian. Personifies the brain to make psychology accessible and emotional. 5. Concrete examples with identification. You are the person who has always been responsible, who has never let anyone down. List of behaviors that make the reader think, that's me. 6. Uncomfortable truth, disruption. People will find your change strange, because your transformation mirrors what they don't have the courage to do. Subtle provocation that generates reflection and engagement, the reader wants to defend or agree. 7. Philosophical reinterpretation. What if every crooked look was a reminder that you're stepping out of the ordinary? Transforms criticism into power, reversing the reader's perspective. 8. Dual-purpose call to action. Comment here. Not for me, but for you to read in a year. Immediate engagement, comment, plus long-term value, future reflection. 9. Preview of upcoming content. Next week, how to turn your shoulds into I chooses. Cliffhanger, dangerous questions, plus promise of value, it will hurt, but it will be worth it. 10. Closing with memorable phrase. Life is not about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning to dance in the rain, and sometimes, being the storm itself. Extended metaphor, storm equals challenges, plus empowerment, being the storm equals agency. Why does this style work so well? Psychology of identification. The reader recognizes himself in the descriptions of behaviors and fears, creating an emotional connection. Dynamic rhythm. Short sentences alternating with long parables maintain the engaging flow. Mentor-friend tone. Not a distant guru, but someone who understands the struggle and offers insights as a partner. Organic calls to action. CTAs are not forced, they are natural consequences of the proposed reflection. How to adapt to other themes. Example with theme. Why do some people accumulate things? Have you ever walked into someone's house and felt like the walls were suffocating? Not because of a lack of space, but because of an excess of things with untold stories? While the majority live in the minimalism of social networks, these people keep boxes of memories, clothes they don't wear, objects that one day will be useful. But is this just disorganization, or a way of holding time in one's hands? Before you judge, it's not frivolity, nor laziness. Sometimes every object is a piece of a version of you that you don't want to forget. The shirt from your first job, your college notebooks, gifts from someone who has passed away. Throwing them away hurts because it seems to erase a part of yourself. Their brain works like a private museum. If I keep this, I keep the memory. If I keep the memory, I don't lose who I was. The problem is that, without realizing it, the past takes up so much space that there is no room for the present. And then comes the question that hurts. What are you really keeping, objects or excuses for not moving forward? And you? What is that object that you can't throw away, even though you know you should? I confess, I have a box of teenage love letters. Yes, it's ridiculous. Yes, I haven't gotten rid of it yet. Comment here, and if you know a serial hoarder, share this text. Sometimes, we need a little push to open Pandora's box, and discover that, deep down, it was empty all along. Next week, how to turn your mess into an emotional treasure map. Spoiler, includes an exercise to separate what is memory from what is weight. Until then. And remember, sometimes letting go is the only way to have space to hold something new. #sparkles. Final tip for your texts. Always include 1. A moment of validation, it's not cool. 2. A painful but liberating truth, what do you're really saving. 3. A visual metaphor, the brain as a museum, life as a forge. 4. A CTA that is also an exercise in self-knowledge, comment on which object you don't throw away. This turns your content into an experience, not just information. Rock it.